This is some really great news. Yes, indeed. What's his name? Christopher Comstock, who I know that he works in the computer sciences field, and he has a channel called Christopher Comstock, and he covers a lot of the Keylonic science, the Guardian materials, the Voyager stuff, right? And that's outstanding. And so I mentioned an update that I put on my Facebook page of stuff that he becomes aware of, right, as a result of all the work that's been done by Guardians. Okay, and so this is a long road to hoe for me ever since I was a little kid, right? Remember, I've mentioned it many times, checking the boxes. That's against the law. 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 So if you want to think of this from a computer input side, which means the inflow, the input, okay, the programming give, right? Everything that's running through the planetary memory banks, that's related to everything that we're all experiencing through a morphogenetic field structure, which is really circulation, biocirculation. So a biosphere circulation, so everybody's plugged into a motherboard. So we're all running on memory, right? Memory banks, RAM, right? So you realize what happens when people are blowing holes in their energy field and their neurons are degenerating. They're losing neurons at a very high rate of speed. So they're going back in time. That's like going back down to a lower animal instincts, right? I mean, as much as I don't like to say this, but I mention this to Aaron because Aaron operates at a higher level, so we have conversations because we can relate to each other because we're observing the effects of what people do to themselves and what happens as a result that we observe, right? So I know a lot about generating a gazillion neurons. So what happens is you begin to realize that it's going to be impossible. Not impossible, but it's like going back to baby talk, like the way that you would talk to a dog. And sometimes it's even worse than that. So I mentioned it to Aaron, for example. I know how to telepathically communicate with a silverback ape that's on a higher level of intelligence than some folks that are living in this house. And they look like humans. Now, you have to sort of scale this up that this was all by design when you're targeting the endocrine system and you're targeting the central nervous system. That's numero uno. It's going after neurons to dumb people down. Big time. Make them stupid. Just stupid as dumb as shit. Okay, so you understand why I use that language as an emphasis, because that's street language for the truth. That's what they do to people. Okay? And how bad it is, okay, when you think about allowing the mentally ill, right, to get away with murder on this planet on behalf of the AI. All you got to do is, like when I was a child growing up, I ran around barefoot everywhere I went. But whenever I went onto the concrete and the asphalt to go into any mall and any store, you weren't allowed to go in there with bare feet. You know what that's telling you? They want you to be sick. They won't allow you to go in there to buy their poison. So they want you to be sick, as if you're too stupid to know any better. Okay, now scale us up on a planetary level. If everybody all of a sudden started throwing all their shoes away, right, and started running around on the earth now, back in bare feet, right? Because they realize from an inflammation point of view how this relates to how much electrons are sucked out of you by inflammation on every level, which means every human with a soul. That information provides what? The means for which every medical institution is now making money, and they're selling poison. So they get you on the front end, and then they get you on the back end to suck as much energy out of everything that is alive and living on the planet. That's no joke. That's why I knew as a child that everything that they're selling is selling poison. That's called a snake oil poison salesman. Okay, so they don't have any interest in your welfare. So now we're back to the documents that Karen Ann McDonald put up, right? So what this means, when you understand that you're operating in an API system that is completely inverted, that means that you have to swap out everything that is in your visible spectrum TV screen and completely swap it out so that it's operating in the proper format which means everything that we're experiencing inside of us, that we thus experience is coming back to us, is based on accelerating the torque speed of our own vortex, right? In which we're not ever sick. That's the eternal life, creation spheres, realms I'm accustomed to. Because nobody is experiencing any inflammation, because nobody's experiencing any decay, which means they don't need a doctor, they don't need a dentist. And the truth of it is they don't even need a teacher, because they've already reached a high enough level that they're already an accelerator, running through the one. That means they're experiencing the eternal energy, right? It's flowing through their heart and their soul. And now that energy is flowing through the entire morphogenetic field structure, which means every DNA software, every unit of consciousness experiences what love is. That means everything that's being generated represents what love is. And the feedback is immediate. So this goes back many, 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 many years when I'm a little child as an observer. How long is this going to take? You see what the problem is with all this, right? Think about how many millions of people work in these jobs every day that actually represent war crimes. I got done watching this video. It was only 15 minutes called Grounding, Earth Day. It's a 15-minute. And it's just like, man, you took me back when I was a little kid. This lady was talking about how her children were sick. Her child, okay, wanted to be with her mother, where her mother was in bare feet out on the earth. And then her child was experiencing being normal. And then when she would go in the house, okay, that disease state, that inflammation state came back. You realize what that message is? That means that that child is always going to be sick unless that child's feet is grounded to the mama. So imagine that you have everybody on Earth as the planetary memory banks, because the speed that is moving through the morphogenetic field structure, that you have 30% of the people that have thrown all their shoes away because now they're grounding on the earth. And then you still have the other people that are wearing shoes that makes them sick. So they can keep the revolving door of these parasites that are feeding on people because of the inflammation, because of lack of knowledge, which is lack of light. Now that people are waking up, that means you're going to swap out everything that they've been programmed to experience as a result of what's been sold to them and programmed into their memory that they've been running. Now they no longer want to run a death cult program. That's like reversing the server. You know what it means to reverse the server? Now it's going in the other direction. Instead of going in reverse evolution, which means into a lower animal, because their state of awareness is going back to animal instincts, right? Now they're speeding up in the other direction, which means now they know what they're doing. They're no longer mentally ill. Yeah, wake up. That's what's happening. That means the speed at which people are waking up and feeling better and getting the message. That means that the information that is traveling, which is the math and the language of DNA, is now going through the planetary memory banks at a higher rate of speed. And it's like the nodes are working, being connected like nodes on a motherboard. Hey, I'm getting the message. So this is a circulation. I've been dealing with this since I was a child, because what it means is I'm getting the information, right, to mama, and the one. So I'm aware of what's going on, but you realize there's a gazillion other people don't have a fucking clue what's going on because of what they're held captive by, that is feeding on their energy and preventing them to maintain a higher state of awareness and use their firewall as their shield, the crystalline shield. So this is a big day of celebration, what I'm experiencing now, because the last 24 to 48 hours have been remarkable. In terms of when you think of increments, your belly to pillar and hold more. It's like somebody cleared out a tunnel, right? Which means the vortexes are now spinning at a higher rate of speed, which means we got more accelerators now, right? Which means we're getting rid of all the junk, the cobwebs, which is dumbing everybody down. as a result of allowing mentally ill people of ruling over us that are selling us poison. Everything that they did here. Everything that they did here. All the antennas they put up, right, were all designed to knock your antenna down, mutate your DNA, right, become food and loosh for parasites and vampires and warlocks and black magician tech operators that are black magician. You know, sonic pulse weapons, psychotronic weapons, food poisoning, shoe poisoning, stuff they put in your teeth, stuff they put in your body. Here's an implant, right? It's horrific. It's horrendous. When I was a kid growing up, there weren't any words to describe how bad it is. That's why I was crying pretty much every day. And if you allowed, because of how much you're actually aware of the programs that are running through the planetary consciousness field, it would be overwhelming. Because that's what it's going after, your heart. Crush it, right? Like squeeze you like a little bug. See ya. Right? So this is really, really good news when I'm experiencing like my heart is wide open. Because over the last week or so, I've been experiencing, they're not heart pains, what it means, the expansion of energy, right? So when I've been going out now and wanting to spend more time granted to that rock out there and doing work like I did this morning, right? And I was able to really expand the diaphragm. Man, I'm really feeling like a breatharian, a breathing dragon now, right? Working with the sun and seeing the sky go pink, it's like, yeah, I'm experiencing a much greater expansion of that energy now going pink, the mirror in the sky, than I was, say, days before that. So these are incremental expansion of consciousness changes that are taking place now as a result of the speed differential that's really starting to kick into gear now. Yeah, I mean, this is how you know. This is how you experience the incremental success. You know, that it's not something that's going to happen overnight, right? Because of, you have to accrete the amount of energies and frequency that you can hold in your software, right, in your radio body, without burning up, and how much you can handle over a given time and space vector, right? Because you occupy, your energy occupies on a multidimensional level and density, right? So much of what you're aware of that is relevant to that because of your soul matrix, right? Which would be, if you will, the sum of your energy that is represented by what your soul identity is, right? So this is beautiful news. This is really good stuff. You know, it was beautiful for me to be able to share with Aaron about things that I know that it's much like knowing the future of somebody by easily being able to map and predict what their future is going to be. And you're already seeing it because you already know that the other individual is going to be able to experience the information and what's happening now and what's going to happen in the future, because the speed of that information and which is traveling through the morphogenetic structure, right, means that individual is going to know what's happening here, even though he's not here, but he's going to be aware of it and he's going to want to find out. And then he realizes that what he realized to his intuition was correct, because now he comes here to find out that it was true. See how that works? Which means I don't have to do anything to see the shit hit the fan. The morphogenetic structure, the way that the information is traveling through everybody's software now, will take care of itself. And you see how that works, okay, between, particularly on this island, right? You know, the big island, because of what's here, you know, like Patty told me, hey, that's a Draco stronghold. That's the same thing as saying that it's a demon stronghold. So if you started adding up the way that Aaron told me, well, yeah, 65% of the people that are on this island are blowing major holes in their energy field, right? And so you can see why that was, because as Lay told me, this island became a dumping ground, right, for low frequency generators. And then all you got to do is flood their heads with crack and watch what happens. That's a death spiral. So they end up all feeding on each other until they're gone, right? So you know that they're not friends because remember, I went through the drug culture when I was in my teenage years. So most of those folks are either dead or in prison. Okay, so if they don't self-correct that behavior, then they're on a death spiral. You know, just like when you go into Alcoholics Anonymous. Most of those folks, sadly, you realize if the statistics are true, what AA keeps on these folks, only 2 out of every 100 that even come into those rooms ever recover their spirit to experience step 11, to be able to reach step 12, which is 12 spheres, which is the 12 tribes, which means they restored their spirit, right? Now they're experiencing what love is again. Now they got a soul connection, right? Now they're no longer doing bad things to themselves, trying to do the things that we do that don't serve us, and instead now we're back to love and service to others. That's step 12, which is 3. That's why they kept it anonymous. Whatever your perception of power is, there has to be a power greater than yourself, which is what love is. That's why step 1 is surrender to yourself. Step 4 is when you do an inventory to take a look at your own behavior, which is self-reflection. Then you make a commitment. I'm done doing this to myself because I care about myself. I care, and there is enough light left in me that I know that what I'm doing is not right. So now I have to make a commitment to kick a demon out of my airspace. That's really what it is. Right? You're sharing space with a demon that wants your food, wants your soul and your spirit to kick it out and take over the vehicle. That's what it is. So at the end of the day, you're always going to go right back to trauma. Trauma to the soul, spiritual torture. So that's why we're here, because this is a salvage mission. So you had to realize when you came in here, you were coming into a major triage center on a Star Wars level, right? So you realize you're navigating your consciousness through a spiritual battlefield of a casualty center, right? So it's triage, Tribeca, the Trinity Hub server. Being able to spin that higher energy, which means you're experiencing more light, to be able to raise it up so people are healing in the planet. That's the idea. That's what I've been trying to do ever since I was a little kid, right? Increase the speed of the vibration that people are experiencing, going vertical and horizontal. Feel that cross up at pure light, girl. Getting the frequencies, holding the light. Being pillars of light, holding pillars of light. Let's get it up, Mama. Let's get it up. 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 We're getting it up. This is the best I've experienced it since I was a little kid. I thought we could almost turn the corner back in the 1960s, 70s, and then all of a sudden you feel that vice coming down, going the other way again. Oh man. Yeah. So you know the spiral that you're on. The 1. Law of 1. Have a good night. Earth grounding. Yeah. Spending time with Mama, the bare feet. Picking up free electrons. We're electrical appliances, right? Electrified sound and light. As I would say, you're not going to find a living spirit and living eternal light, experiencing eternal love vibration in a 20-watt G light bulb. That energy comes from us, by the way. I know, they hijacked the grid.